U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
You better not laugh at this poor girl's suffering, Jack.
Unsurprising but very sad. A conservative quote-unquote triad wife influencer, Lauren Southern, discovered being a traditional marriage felt like being enslaved, and she felt compelled to rationalize her husband's behavior. Wow, really? Is that true? Is that true? Really? Dude, Lauren Southern was like the poster child of, listen, young women, you don't want feminism, you want to be a trad wife.
She was also the poster child
You know
of
what,
sinking
honestly,
refugee
I guess some
ships.
credit for writing about how the lions did in fact eat her face. I mean, is it a bit? Thousands of miles from friends and family, she reports becoming the closest thing to a modern-day Western slave. With no income of her own, she had to do everything. The lawns, the house, the cooking, the baby care, the university homework. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't have the support.
Enslaved the women to create hierarchy. He was right.
There was no help changing diapers. There was no help waking up in the night with the baby. I'd still have to get up to make breakfast before work. I'd be shaky and nervous for fear I'm going to get yelled at. Then he'd berate her for spending all her time on tasks other than earning money. I was told daily that I was worthless, pathetic, dead weight. This is the trad wife fantasy that all the like 19-year-old TikTok girls who are tired of having to work a minimum wage job are fantasizing about. If you guys think that like the like median experience of a marriage in the 1950s was one of mutual love and happiness, then you're genuinely deluded. Like genuinely deluded. Okay, even today in an era of no fault and pretty frequent divorce, marriages are very often not happy. Like seriously, think of all of the like other people you knew growing up and all of their parents. How many of their parents had really dynamics, like, you know, relationship wise, right? Yeah. Sorry, so many marriages keep going purely for their kids. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying marriage is innately bad or doesn't work for everyone, but like the trad wife thing in particular is, and it always was, and people are being duped into it again because of like 1950s appliance advertisements where you see a woman smiling in a painting where she's showing off a new toaster or something. Like you're literally getting baited into cultural regression because there were good advertisement painters in the 50s. Jesus. So can somebody link me the full article, by the way? All you do is sit around, take care of the baby, and do chores. When COVID shut down all real-world public life, her situation became hell on earth. It was, she said, the only time in my life where I idealized dying. Jesus. There were warning signs from early on. If I ever disagreed with him in any capacity, he'd just disappear for days at a time. I remember there were nights where he'd call me worthless and pathetic, then get in his car and leave. But she didn't see them, thanks to the simplified anti-feminist ideology she'd absorbed and promoted. I had this delusional view of relationships that only women could be the ones to make or break them and men can do no wrong. So she didn't spot the red flags even as they grew more extreme. He'd lock me out of the house. I remember having to knock on the neighbor's door on rainy nights. Jesus. Because he'd get upset and drive off without unlocking the house. It was very strange to go.
Russian girlfriend on stream.
But the one where he like sits her up in the background and shit.
Yeah. Cause she put her out. She was pregnant too. Put her out on the freezing porch in her underwear to punish
from being
her.
this public figure. You're on stage with people clapping, to the girl crying, knocking on someone's door with no home to get into, being abandoned with a baby. Jesus Christ. Can somebody link the full thing so I'm not just reading Twitter screenshots? Who is this about? Lauren Southern. Should we be sad for someone like Lauren Southern? Well, I admit that my sympathy has tapered a little bit because she spent years like militantly promoting this lifestyle to every woman she could like reach, which in fairness wasn't very many because it was almost exclusively men who consumed her content because they wanted validation to the idea that women should be subservient housewives. But it's still them over. So like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should be slightly more careful and introspective about the ideology that we're promoting. You know, very much like I didn't think the leopards would eat my face kind of thing. That being said, you know, I don't know. Conservatism makes retards of them all. So, you know, she had a turnabout here. Oh man, this is like a whole write-up. But as she tells it, the nightmare began in earnest when she was offered a work opportunity in his home country of Australia a few weeks after the birth of their baby. She did not want to leave her support networks behind, but he used the political and religious importance she placed in lifelong marriage as a lever to force her to agree. Whenever I wouldn't do something, he would say, I'm going to divorce you. So feeling she had no other option, she assented. He also insisted she should publicly quit work. His work required a high level of government security clearance. She was a right-wing provocateur who had faced deplatforming state investigations and was even banned from entering the UK. Between the lockdown claustrophobia and her husband's behavior, she began to revise her initial willingness to leave public life. In part, she told me she hoped it would win back his love. He was so much kinder, sweeter, and more pursuant of me when I was this boss babe traveling the world. Dude, there are so many men like this. This is what a lot of men want. They want to find strong women and break them. That's what they like. They see a woman who has like a big, like a job or is a high earner or is confident, and they see that as a challenge because it would be like more rewarding to subjugate them. Then they subjugate the woman and make her like respectfully pathetic, which is what Lauren seems to be here. And then they're no longer interested in her because they no longer get any feeling of power over controlling them. Like this happens all the time, you know? This is a pretty common media trope too. The idea of like a cold-hearted ice queen boss babe who ends up melting for a guy, and she like quits her job, or she like becomes more of a family woman, and the whole like fantasy being played into is like, let me bring her down to my level or below it, you know. This is boat Lauren, not theater blowjob Lauren, and it was a hand job, I think. It seemed like becoming a mother made him lose respect for me. It was shocking to me again because the traditional view preached the opposite, that men love you more when you stop working and become a wife
Yeah,
and mother.
it's almost
In
like they lie to women. It's a shame she had to figure it out the hard way. I kind of feel bad for her, to be completely honest.
her experience, though, this was very much not the case. Yep. So a year
She
after
tried to
retiring to
drown
embrace
people in the
traditionalist domestic life and the
Mediterranean
right-wing model,
Sea.
she posted her comeback
No,
video
she
and
wouldn't
began
be
making sporadic
complaining if she married me.
media appearances. I remember this video. I didn't really know what was going on with it
Yeah,
when it got
she'd be
posted.
dead.
It's
like those refugees in the Mediterranean.
seemed like kind of a turn. I don't know. No, wait, hold on. Wait, is that the right video? No, wait, this is the wrong video. This is after COVID, but she's talking about a comeback video and linking the 2019 borderless thing. Yeah, this is the wrong video. They fucked up here. This isn't the comeback video. So I was confused when I linked it. There was a comeback video at one point with Lauren Southern. It wasn't the okay, mistake by the person who did the hyperlink. Okay. Well, whatever. Never mind the pop anti-feminist idea. The comeback video was when she started doing the like enlightened centrism thing, right? That was what happened, right? Like she was doing the whole all migrants are terrors on the West, blah blah, and then she came back after a while. It was this really weird, half-hearted, like, you know, having experienced so much shit. You know, I'm here to just have interesting conversations, like that crap, you know. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, this comeback video.
Yeah,
why I left and why I'm
that's
back.
when we got Dreg platforming her.
Was that at this time? I think it was.
That's when we got Dreg platforming her. Was when Lauren Southern was doing the I'm
Okay,
back.
hang on, let me Google.
Views. Yeah, there we go. This seems much more likely. And see, her hair is dark. She stopped dyeing her hair with like platinum blonde. Wait, did she dye her hair platinum blonde, or is she naturally that blonde? And this is her natural hair, right? I don't know what her natural hair is. Wow. It is surely true that conservative advocacy for complementary sex roles sometimes ignores questions about women's physical vulnerability and the scope this affords for domestic abuse. No, that's not ignoring questions. Conservative ideology is fine with physical abuse against women. It enables it at like every turn, you know? It's anti-Me Too. It's anti-no-fault divorce. Like it literally every ideological and policy-based level, like they enable that. That's not an accident,
check
you know?
this out.
Yeah.
Control over...
Check this out.
From him. I have no idea what's going on.
Lauren Southern. How about you call yourself, I don't know, like Lauren Northern?
Never heard that one before.
Can you hold this?
Got it. I'm on it.
Lauren, I come from the east, bringing you riches. Please, Lauren, take some of my riches, Lauren. Take my jewels. Take my jewels.
How can-
Fucking amazing.
You know, like, oh man, I can't believe that a person who I married for their anti-feminist views is okay with abusing women.
Yeah,
That's
crazy, right?
Oh, okay, this isn't like a liberal article. Conversely, today many self-identified liberal feminists have also forgotten the earliest women's movement was grounded in these sex-specific material vulnerabilities. This is the trans thing. Southern experience firsthand. They're saying like modern feminists have forgotten that males and females are different. Nice. He would just give
To
me
be
impossible
clear,
tasks
I just
all
want to
day,
be
tasks
clear.
you cannot
She didn't actually drown anyone. She just tried to.
It felt like he would almost send me on errands with the intent of having me fail. All of this was, Southern tells me, difficult to square with her religious beliefs. She would pray by his bed when he was angry with her, hoping that if she gave him grace one more time, he'd realize the depth of her love and be kinder. And if this didn't work, she was encouraged to persist by way online life had conditioned these beliefs into listicle form. But she discovered distilling religious traditionalism into viral bullet points does not provide an adequate framework for navigating the complexities of a real-world marriage. She told me that, quote, as long as I put on the high heels and the lipstick when my husband came home, as long as I cook the best meal, as long as I'm always submissive and say, yes, sir, whatever you want, things will go fantastic. Man, you know what's funny? This is more like porn-brained than the most porn-brained, like
funny.
lefty polycule types I've ever actually interacted with. Like literal porn-brain. Like the idea, like wear red lipstick, have blonde hair, wear the high heels, say yes, sir, and the man will love you. Are you? This is literally like cis woman cissification fantasy. Okay, Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is a porn fantasy. Like it's ridiculous. You know, it's you're constructing an entire like relationship dynamic and like model of love around like 3 lines of conservative dogma, highly fetishized lines. Do you think the trad wife model ever made sense? It's never existed. The trad wife that conservatives talk about today never existed. Relationships in the 1950s were much more obviously economically motivated than people like to acknowledge now. for for the longest time in human history, I'm generalizing, but for the most part, the wealthy married for wealth or power, and the poor married for love. But that started to blur together more and more when the social dynamics of the pre-modern world kind of faded away, and you started to enter into an environment where you have to like make money or die. Like you literally don't there's no longer a community apparatus to keep people afloat. You have the nuclear family model, so people no longer live together with their families forever and ever, right? And even then, to a large extent, like women were married away for money reasons, like with dowries and stuff. I'm not denying that, but like I think that people massively underestimate how much marriages in the 50s were transactional. Women wanted to be in a marriage because they literally couldn't open a bank account or get a credit card otherwise. Like they literally would not. Like there's a reason why people would call women who weren't married by like 25 a bunch of different mean names. And it was because like that's your job, bitch. That's your job. You get married, or you don't get, or you're going to like you're going to work some like maid job and like never like that's going to be your life. Then you get like the small percentage of jobs that are specifically allocated for women. And you're going to be like a spinster or whatever, you know. But people now idealize it as this like conservative like gooner fantasy where you have like a petite trad wife with a tight bubble butt who will, you know, let you spank her when she doesn't cook the meal right or whatever. It's like, fuck, come on, like you're gooners, you're gooning right now, you're gooning right now. You know, this is a conservative porn fantasy that isn't really reflective of anything that ever actually happened on a systemic level, and you're gooning right now. You're gooning in front of me. It's disgusting. Again, there's nothing wrong with being in a monogamous heterosexual relationship if that's your thing. You know, if you must, I suppose.
What's
You know,
your thing,
Jesus.
Vaush?
Excuse me. If you're kinky like that, it seems to me I tell her that condensing millennia of religious belief and real-world domestic practice
like
into
the
viral
way
memes has produced
like
right-wing gender
goblins get
ideology,
drawn
every
in
bit as
porn. They're all
oversimplified,
like
dematerialized, and radically
thick short
disconnected
stacks.
as the disembodied left-wing version. Yeah, okay, the person conducting this interview is cucked. The idea that like Lauren Southern's "what if I prayed my husband into not beating me" is like equivalent to the left-wing like, okay, yeah, like they're still doing the ideology that led to her abuse here. There's no reason to not be progressive. You know, there's progressivism and then there's being wrong. I reject the centrist like line on
Yeah,
this, you know?
yeah.
Well, both sides have the right. No, Southern is careful to emphasize she knows many traditionalists and happy, loving, complementary marriages, but she says it's a fallen world, and her community includes many women whose husbands seem to have been drawn to listicle style gender ideology precisely because of the power it offers over women. The female brain is just very vulnerable to the listicle style gender ideology. You know, that's how it is. Those guys want someone they feel like they can definitely control, who's never going to leave them, who they can do anything to. That's great. I love to go after guys purely on the basis of they want to control me. I won't ever leave them. They can do whatever they want to me. That's just phenomenal. Just really high IQ behavior here, you know? Jesus Christ. Like, can you imagine like thinking this and not understanding that you're like volunteering to be a sheep for lions? Ridiculous. In the end, it wasn't Southern who broke the spell, but her husband. Around the time her son was toddling, two family deaths prompted her to arrange a home visit to Canada. Her husband threatened divorce if she went, and Southern tells me she had to sign an affidavit promising to return.
What? That's insane.
Finally, he relented, only to text after she landed in Canada, declaring that because she'd chosen to travel, the marriage was over. Well, he's doing her a favor there, I guess. Even then, she still hoped her marriage could be saved. God almighty. I still wanted to make it work. I was texting my husband and calling him, begging to get back together, but he just said, no, I don't even want shared custody. Okay, so he just had a different family then. He would leave for days at a time without explaining where he had gone.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Didn't even want custody over the children. He just had another family. Still, it was a confusing time for her. My brain was breaking because between two worlds because I couldn't let go of the ideology. I was at a similar age when I fell away from the radical left. Okay, yeah, that's the interviewer talking here. I'm getting bored of this. Can we get to the end of this? Some of the most miserable people I've met, in fact, absolutely the most miserable people I've met, have been stuck in this weird LARPy trad dynamic. The happiest people she knows, on the other hand, are just living in reality. Yeah, this is the difference, though. This is the difference between the left and the right when it comes to ideological biases in relationships. The left doesn't have these prescriptions when it comes to being in a relationship. People on the left wing don't wake up and go, I must pursue this family dynamic because it is optimized to bring about communism. They don't do that. They just do what they want. You see them in their polycules or their open marriages or relationships or whatever, but they're not doing that because they're waking up thinking like, yes, Karl Marx, this is the only way forward. The West must be safe. They're doing it because they want to, because they're horny, because they want attention, whatever. They're honest and hedonistic in a way that's like reflective of their actual values. They're not engaging in this kind of like weird like self-debasement by forcing yourself to be miserable by adhering to some totally arbitrary made-up gooner trad LARP fantasy. You know, that's the difference. There are plenty of people on the left whose like ideas about relationships are influenced by their ideology, but it just influences them to feel like they can do what they want, not that they have to do something even
So
if it
she
hurts
must
them.
have went
It
and
blows
hung
my
out
mind that they
with
actually
Greg while her husband was saying that the marriage is over. Because that's
Must
what she was
have.
in Canada.
Yeah, must have been then. Interesting.
I think he peed in her butt.
Maybe.
they exist as right wingers in private and it kills them. Yeah, no kid, right? Like you think like this ideology is so stupid. You would think that like they would take them. It's like the gay lisp. It's like, damn, don't you know how dumb you sound? Do you really do that? Or like the British accent. You really do that shit in private too? But they do, you know? Would you say tankies do that? No. The only people ostensibly on the left who I've seen engage in this behavior are like, there are some Maoists who are weirdly Volcel about it, but I don't even know how real that is. That could just be like them being incelish in general, and they pretend that it's a Maoist thing. You know, I don't really think it's the same. What happens when Shu sees this article? Man, you can give Shu shit as much as you want, but from the get-go, like at least the impression that I've gotten is that Shu just does what she actually wants to do. She hasn't really made videos saying like every chick has to submit or whatever. If she personally wants to be like, I don't know, stepped on a bunch by some dude with giant boots, like, okay, I don't know. It's not like I don't talk to other. It's not like I can't go on Grindr. And
It's also not like every traditional relationship is abusive either. Like you also have to like obviously this one is just more prominently out there than others because it's Lauren Southern and because of what she's been doing and how she acts and all that sort of
Being
shit.
drowning those migrants.
Sure. But at the end of the day, this isn't normal. And honestly speaks to the bigger issue that's been going on in Australia with domestic violence and that sort of stuff.
Remember, we were just watching that.
Mm.
Remember that chat?
Were we? Did I bring... Wait,
Yeah,
what?
no, we were. Yeah, let's finish this video.
Okay.
and find other people who aren't like that instantly. You know, it's not an uncommon thing to want, you know, but that's different. Lauren Southern wasn't just preaching like, hey, it's hot when dudes step on you. Okay, well, you'll find that shit in the left too. Trust me. Go to any pride, talk to anyone, go outside, breathe air, you know? No, Lauren Southern's crime here, or self-crime or whatever, wasn't like liking the idea of being submissive to a guy. That's fine, you know? It's this giant LARPy trad wife thing around it. None of that, like you can do everything that the trad wife relationship is supposed to be about, but it has to be built in a framework of mutual respect and understanding. And that's what the conservatives don't want.
Hey, look,
conservatives don't really care that you wear the pastel dress and the apron and that you cook all the meals or whatever. The cooking meals thing is convenient, sure, but what it's really about is the control over women. Not sexy control, not consensual control, not this is a dynamic we've established control, just actual earnest, like, you are mine, you are a slave. Again, not a kinky way, please. I know that every one of these terms has been subsumed by kink culture, so you're just going to it's actual power over you in a way that is like genuinely abusive, you know? That is the point. Like that is the whole point, the conservative mantra around women, you know? BDSM control, the control is actually held by the bottom or woman in this case. Yeah, it's worth pointing out that in actual like dominant submissive relationships, the commonly accepted, because it's correct, dynamic is that the bottom is actually the one who holds the control over the scene, because they're the ones at the great.
I can put those refugees she drowned it aside.
Just risk of being hurt or subjugated or whatever else, you know, like you're hitting their ass the paddle if they say stop or whatever the safe word is, I don't know. Like that's the thing, right? But none of this like trad wife shit. This isn't kink culture, right? This isn't like let's establish a dynamic where because I think it's hot to wear a dress and cook for you. If that's your shit, dude. If you're like het and you're like, yeah, I want to cook for my husband. I think it's hot to like do what he says. Fine, go for hell yeah, sure. I don't give a shit. Go for it. Hell yeah. You're saving the West. Go have kids. I don't care. But like again, that's like in an explicit agreed upon dynamic, and this is just like abuse. So yeah, that's really the difference. Who knew that consent could make the difference? Yes, you can in fact cook and clean for a man without marrying a white nationalist. It is in fact possible to do this, you know? And by the way, the left is much better about recognizing all of this. All of this is like, this isn't like a both sides thing or whatever, right? Like the left is infinitely better when it comes to being introspective about and considerate about all of these dynamics. Oh God, if you ever want like a real wild trip and you have the ability to, like conservative bet life doms are like a constant source of comedy in the broader kink community, because you basically have guys who just want to hurt women with no like understanding of the dynamic or like any consideration for, like it's just like freak behavior, you know? So they get made fun of a lot. They're almost always cons. Oh, we made it. Any women out there that want to get punched? No, they wouldn't say it like that. Even that's too like respectful of the others. Check the comments. Oh, I don't know. It's really hard for me to draw any conclusion from that story other than don't marry an asshole. Yep, there you go. For a website called Unheard, where the person inserts multiple digs at the left, obviously the audience here is going to be like, I don't know. I think that Lauren Southern was just kind of an idiot for. Hold on, I should be clear. I also think this, but my analysis doesn't end there. You know, there's a broader criticism of conservative trad wife LARPing that, you know, I've sort of laid my my criticisms against. I just don't really hear about that many cases where in a left-wing relationship, like both people are left-wing, the left-wing ideology is used as a pretext for abuse. Like abuse happens in all kinds of relationships, but in conservative relationships, the conservative beliefs are almost always the pretext for abuse, right? Like the huge, like imagine being in a relationship where both of the people, the wife and the husband, are both fascists, and then like the abuse is unrelated to that, right? I know. I mean, it's possible. It's just like, yeah, because like the whole, like a huge part of fascism, ideologically speaking, is about control over women. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I don't think there's an equivalence to be drawn.
It is a large part.
Is it okay to date a conservative? No, never. Does Caleb Maupin's abuse thing count? No. For one, Caleb Maupin is absolutely not left leaning, and for two, that wasn't really like didn't have anything to do with his ideology. He wasn't like. I guess you could say that he was like using his cult leader kind of status to abuse people, but I don't really think it's the same as like in a relationship dynamic being informed by left-wing values. You're abusing someone as a product of those values. It's again, it's possible, but like the closest thing that I could really think of would be like, I don't know, imagine if you're like a black husband and a white wife, and the black husband was really id-pully and would like gaslight and abuse the white wife about like anything race issue related, or like anytime he did something wrong, he'd be like, oh, so the white person wants to talk over me. It's a good bit. I'm sure it's happened at least a few times, but I don't know how common that, you know, like really leaning into it too, you know, like he like hits her or something. She's like, why'd you do that? She's like, oh, wow, you after everything your people have done to me, you're really going to throw a fit about that. White woman tears, white woman tears. Okay, that's okay. Okay, that's it could be a good bit, you know, good comedy bit. It'd be bad if that really did happen.
No.
Though. It's funny to think about, but it's yeah.
No.
Are all twinks racist? Yes.
No. Computer says no.
Cringe.
Okay, we is done.
Lauren Southern.
Are you okay?
I think the fact that I'm talking to you means that I'm not.
True.
Yeah,
Jesus,
that's
look,
also
watch
a good
out! There's
point.
blue right there. She'll drown you.
Do you have an emergency contact?
Lauren Southern.
Yeah, reality is kind of lame right now.
We're all degens now.
And that's why you need Jesus, my friends. The only political ideology, religion.
Lauren Southern.
that work out
Lauren
for you,
Southern.
Lauren.
Southern.
Like, I don't like having just simple answers. That was easy and comfortable. Then when you actually go out and talk to people and meet people and do on the ground journalism, it really fucking sucks. It's everything's gray. It's gray, Greg.
That's strange. I just had the desire to murder you.
Misogynists exist everywhere, but some of them are just sneakier. There's misogynists, and I almost would rather be around a misogynist because it's like, yeah, this is what I think, this is what I believe.
Really,
and then
Lauren?
Sneaky misogynists that just lie to you about what they believe. So I respect the people that are just open and upfront with it. Same with the misandrists. You know, you think at least they make what they believe known publicly.
Right, yeah. I know what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh, I
kind of
think
like
you-
how I put feminist in my Twitter bio, but then I killed a woman. Well, how would you rate being alive on a scale from 1 to 10?
You know, I'd say a 10 right now because I wasn't sure if I'd be alive after I walked into this room with you. No matter what your standards are, you'll probably
That's
violate
an
them at
ironic
some point.
statement.
So if your movement doesn't have some form of forgiveness or way to improve or get better, then it's doomed to fail because you'll kick everyone out, right? But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to improve. I think you've lost once you say, yeah, we're all shit and we should just accept that. But you've also lost when you try to cope and pretend you're not shit. Yeah.
How about you just when you step out of line, you die? How about that?
But I feel like you just end up murdering the whole planet. But maybe that's okay with you because that's like
As long as I go
extreme
first.
radicalism.
As long as I go first. Lauren, I'm going to be real with you. Politics is just a faint veneer of window dressing I put over my desperate desire to figure out how to live in this world, how to feel okay with myself.
The first time you've made sense today, it's all starting to add up.
How do you do it? How do you live? How can I enjoy my life and be happy to be alive? Lauren Southern.
You're throwing me off, man. It's not our natural inclination to think that like being self-sacrificing is fulfilling, but it definitely is. There's an aspect of I find I'm happiest when I'm doing things for other people. I don't know, like family or whatever. I find that's when I'm happiest. You perceive doing selfish things and pursuing selfish things as things that will make you happy, but they never do.
Buddhist.
She finds it
Yeah.
weird when guys go down on her.
It's not gonna work out then.
Drink.
I agree.
Drink. All right. The end.
The end.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?